Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within, live with me today, Amanda Murray. Amanda, please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Amanda Cottrell. I am a teacher, an author, and an illustrator, and I am the founder of Art, Mindfulness, and Creativity, and I help people find their unique creative gifts within themselves because I believe we are all infinitely creative, and we all have gifts to share. Sometimes we just are too scared to get out there and, and do them and empower our lives through our creative gifts, and I think we all have, I think sometimes people don't believe that they're creative and really they're just not creative in the traditional sense that of like drawing and painting, but they really have creative gifts that they don't realize are creative gifts. So I'm really excited to be here today, and I hope you have a wonderful creative day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amanda. So Amanda has just told you guys the topic today is rethinking, what it means to be educated and the importance of creativity. And like she says, everyone is very creative. If you really, really find that gift within yourself, you will find that you are creative. When we talk about educated, we're not talking about a degree, because you can be anything, anything. You can do anything, even if you don't have a degree. We're talking about being educated to the skills where you feel this is my purpose, these are the skills that I needed for me to get there, and coming and bringing out that creativity as well, because education comes with the being using your creativity and using your imagination. So I'm going to let Amanda basically explain to the audience why she chose this topic, because here at Ngozi Talk Shows, we help people find their own voice, lead from within. When someone chooses a topic, that means that topic is very, very special to them, or somebody has inspired them. So Amanda, please, can you explain to our audience why you chose this topic?
Yeah, I chose this topic because I'm actually speaking on it at the Alternative Education Revolution Organization's conference in June, but I'm also collaborating on writing a book on this topic as well. And so in this collaborative book project, it is entrepreneurs who have become very successful in life that didn't go the traditional route of what society and the education system thinks the path that we should do to become quote unquote successful, which is essentially go to school, go get your university degree, and then do whatever after your university degree. And for so many people, they don't feel successful because they didn't take that path, and yet they've become so successful despite the traditional education system. And I am a teacher and I have 3 university degrees. So I am the last person you would think would be writing a book on this topic, but I'm so passionate about
Hang
it
on,
because
Amanda, how many degrees do you have?
3.
Can you explain what kind of? I don't think I can study up to 2 degree. One, I think two is enough.
Well, I have a political science degree because I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer. And then I have an education degree. And then I have a master's of education in technology. So I have 3. I
Okay.
have 3 very expensive pieces of paper. Actually, it was really funny because the amount on my very first degree when I got my political science degree, because I knew it was useless. I knew that it wasn't going to get me anywhere other than into either teaching or law school. And my dad had said, "I won't pay for I won't pay for your political science degree unless you go into teaching after." So I was like, "All right, whatever." I was interested in political science, so I took it.
Grant,
But
come on. If you have Wi-Fi, come on. Grant is sending his apology. Come on,
oh,
come on, come and join us. If you have, oh yeah, he's hiding. I didn't realize he was there.
Hello, guys. Yeah, I've been sitting here waiting in the wings, but you didn't see me. Good to see you all, guys. Good to see you.
I
good
did.
to see
Sorry, I didn't realize you were in the waiting room.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.
You did the
So
right thing by sending the message. Sorry.
that's
Yeah.
good. That's fine.
Um,
So Amanda, so Grand Amanda is just explaining that she has 3 degrees. So I'm saying, okay, I'm saying I think for me 2 is enough. Even 1 is enough. Not 3.
yeah.
well,
So
well,
I
yeah.
was
I
just
mean,
telling you.
I heard what you were saying about the degrees, 3 degrees, and like you say, not to 2 degrees. And it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because I always remember when I went to university and I got like a postgraduate diploma, so it's between a degree and a master's for marketing, management, and strategic marketing, specialising in strategic marketing. And I went back, so I'd been a manager for a few, well, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years at the time, I can't remember, at my company. And I went back, and when I actually got my certification, I went to the HR director, okay? And I said, there you are. I said, look, got that. And he looked at it, and he went, okay, so what do you want me to do with that? And I said, well, like maybe put it on my personnel file, promotions and reviews and things like that. He went, and his assistant said, I'll do it. And she took it and she shot him a dirty look. And she said, Grant, I went to university. I know what it takes to get one of those. She said, and, I recognize it. And that was my experience. To be fair, there was a lot of theoretical stuff in it. There were some really good principles in what I learned. A lot of it, the management side was geared towards running like a Fortune 500 company or something like that. So really doesn't come into my world at all as a coach, as a trainer, as a facilitator at all, really. It it can do. You can borrow elements of it. There are elements I borrow, um, but the marketing side was much more practical in a sense. It went into a lot, and the best part of that, in my opinion, was the debating, because you could debate something, and I often refer to it as you can debate something either side, because there was one part where we looked at two very famous economists who had debated about something large that was going to happen in the telecom industry in Brazil. Both very well balanced arguments, very well respected economists. Clearly, one of them had to be wrong. So if you can debate something well, you can make anything look good. So people choose to listen to the evidence that they like. There's
Yeah.
a thing called unconscious bias, as we know. You look at
That's
something,
what
you look
just
at all the
happened the
facts.
last entire 2 years.
Right.
Is people just chose to listen to whatever bias
It,
that
it,
they wanted to,
precisely. You got the
instead of
hidden
listening
message
to
there.
both sides and making a conscious, educated decision.
Right. So you got the silent messages that I was giving to people. People will listen to whatever they want. You'll listen to evidence A, evidence B, both compelling evidence. And if their mind's not impartial, and very few people are, even though we all like to think we are, you'll look at it and what will stand out for you will be the evidence that supports your belief, and you will say, aha, there you are, there's the evidence, and you'll just ignore the other stuff. But there was some good stuff. The best part, I think, in the marketing aspect, strategic marketing, was the fact that it was Amazon that I actually was one of my case studies, Amazon. And it was like, is the internet going to catch on? This was literally the topics at the time. And we was highlighting, and the phrase touchy feely? I'm going to say this. I was the first person I ever heard to use that phrase, touchy feely. I put it into one of my work pieces, and it's common parlance now, which I'm sure is coincidence, nothing to do with the fact that I wrote it in a paper. But I did say that. I said sort of touchy feely kind of thing, and I said about buying things online. But the best part, really, as I keep saying, was actually the case studies. Looking at the marketing case studies, what worked, what didn't work, why it didn't work. And when you're looking at that debrief of it, if you will, that's very much what I do now in the world of coaching. So that practical aspect of it, and the looking at it all strapped together in practicality and then analysing it, that was really useful. And the part which I liked and why I chose to specify in that, because really marketing, one way or another, is the study of human beings. I still believe that most people talk about marketing wrong. Marketing, and they're talking about advertising. I can tell you, when I studied marketing, there wasn't one element on advertising. And when we asked, they said, that's a completely different subject. But in modern parlance, people say, oh, I'm marketing this, marketing that. They're advertising, they're not marketing. Marketing is a theoretical study of the viability of an idea or a project. Quite often after a marketing study, you might say, yep, not going to do that, throw it in the bin, which is a great success because it saves you lots of time, money and energy. Or it might be, that's a great product, you know what, we're just marketing it to the wrong demographic or in the wrong country or in the wrong channel, something like that. But that's really what marketing is. But when I hear people talk about marketing this, I cringe a lot because I think it's not really what marketing is. So if anything, yes, the greatest thing that I learned from it was really the practicality, the study, the working in groups and stuff like that. That was really useful. And the reason I did it, because at the time I had a very strong academic girlfriend who said, you've got a good eye for business, you've got a good mind for it. It would be useful if you could understand more about the parameters and you could talk in wider circles about it. That allowed me to have a different form of conversation afterwards. That's what it did allow me to. And I'm a serial networker. So it allowed me to speak to a broader market in that way. And after I finished, she showed a project to me and she laughed and she said, it's so funny because I remember showing you this before you studied it and you didn't quite get it, but now you do. Do I use much of what I learned from it? Very, very little. Very little. Most of it is what I've learned again from people who have done it, including myself, and real life experience, because the world is dynamic and the world changes often, all the time, in fact. So really taking those key principles and really applying it to what's working now is the thing, because it's got to be current, it's got to be relative to what's happening now. And people, trends, politics, economics change all the time. So yeah, it was okay. I'm glad I did it. But I know I'd never say to someone, don't do it. I would never say that. But I'd say be specific on what you want to get out of it, because most people do it, they don't use that after. I probably use it more than anyone, and it's only a little bit. But the genre that I've gone into after is a variation of that, but not the same. And that's my overview. That's my overview of my university days. But there was, you know, I remember them well, and there were some good people there, and there were some tough times, there were some good times, and it exercised a different part of my mind and allowed me to have different quality or different kinds of conversation with people who speak that language. That's it.
Yeah, I think Amanda, you studied a really difficult subject. You can get into politician, can you, with your all the subjects that you've done? You can get into politics, can you?
You could have. Not really in Canada, because you need to basically speak 2 languages to go into politics in Canada, because I don't speak very good French. So.
Yeah, but you could actually learn another language and then get into politics, because
Yeah,
science.
don't.
I studied science. Science is very fascinating, like psychology. So you could actually, it opens lots of different opportunities as well. You studied difficult. I'm not sure if I can recommend someone to study 3 degrees. One is enough. I'm finishing another one now, so I think it's a hard work.
I don't even recommend it to anyone, unless I always say to people, unless you are going into something specific, like
Yeah.
unless you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a nurse, like unless you know that you want to do one of those specific things, do not go to university until you know what it is that you want to do, because otherwise it's a giant waste of money. And like someone who has 3 degrees is telling you this, and it's like almost an oxymoron, but it's the truth.
Is that you, Grant, is sending a message at Ngozi talk shows? Who, can you check? Can you check WhatsApp, somebody? I can't go through WhatsApp. Someone is sending a message that they're having issues.
That was me. Or
oh, okay.
Yeah, that was us, don't worry.
So anyways, I have this funny story about I finished my first degree, and I knew I was going into my second one to do to go into to be a teacher, because in Canada you needed to have a degree before you could go into teaching as well.
You have someone, audience, Amanda, give them attention, Viv.
Always an inspiring conversation is what it says. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're having an inspiring conversation. But I remember after getting my first degree, I refused to go to the grad ceremony because I think they're super boring. And I was like, I'd rather just
Did
go to
you
my.
refuse to go to a graduate ceremony?
I'm like, I'll go to my
Why?
next one. And so anyways, I just went to campus to pick up my degree, and it was in the summer, and I ran into someone that I knew there, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, picking up an expensive piece of paper. And he was like, looked at me, and he's like, what? And I was like, I'm getting my degree, but I didn't want to go to the graduation ceremony because I didn't work very hard in my political science degree either. I like spent most of my time snowboarding, and I was like, would just study when I had to, and then write the test or write my paper, and then I'd snowboard. So I sometimes think it's like, what is it that you worked really hard at? When I went and I did my master's degree, I made sure I attended the graduation ceremony there because I worked my butt off to get that one. But when I can work 3 jobs and fool around and snowboard and do all of these other things while I'm getting my degree, it wasn't really, I didn't value it that much because I was like, I didn't work very hard to get this. I worked harder at my jobs, making sure I didn't go into debt than I did at getting my degree. But I know it's different for other people too. And so, anyways, I think that it's really interesting when people go into things, and Elon Musk even says, he says university is a place for people to go hang out with their friends. And I think Elon Musk has a very like interesting view of education because he is speaking out against the traditional education system in lots of ways. And he even, one quote that is sticking with me, and I think is really important. I think everyone needs to contemplate this. He stated that it is easier to place a person on Mars than it is to change the education system. And I think that's something that we really need to contemplate. And also, it's in my one of my posts that I'm going to post this week is to question that. Do we agree with him? Do we agree that he's going to get someone on Mars before we actually shift our education system to be something that is more meaningful? And Grant was talking about how those only the practical things has stuck with him. And I think of my degrees, and I look at it, and I was like, as a teacher, I know that the only valuable part of my education degree was my practicum, and then it was the fact that I worked as an education assistant while I was going to school. And so the most I learned about being a teacher wasn't even from my education degree. It was from working in the schools as an education assistant. And so I think if I was to redo what teaching is, I would make every single teacher be an education assistant for 2 years while they're going to school to be a teacher. And then they would get to go in and have a practicum as a teacher. And then they would be a teacher. And it would not be sitting at the university listening to boring theory. It would be hands-on practical with a bunch of different experiences, because I learned more by being an education assistant sub, going to all different schools across the city, than I ever did in the 2 practicums that I did as a teacher. Because I had experience in so many different schools, in so many different economic situations, like pockets of poverty and rich areas and everything all over Calgary. And I learned way more from that than I ever did sitting in the classroom at the university where I'm paying to be there. And so I think we really need to rethink what it means to be educated, because like even Grant said, the practical stuff is what sticks. The theoretical stuff is sometimes like I think maybe there should be bits of it, but it shouldn't be the sole focus. And so much of university degrees, the theoretical, not practical stuff is the focus, and it's not useful for people. And so unless you want to be a theorist, right, then you need to have that practicality. And I think studying psychology, there's definitely a lot of theory that helps you get different ideas about that. And psychologist would be another one where you need to go to university, but also you would have that goal of being a psychologist at the end, not just randomly go to school for no reason. Well, other than I don't know what else to do and my parents are paying for my degree. So I think that there's definitely, we really need to rethink what it means to be educated, why we're going to school, and then also what is happening when you are at the universities. Because even for lawyers, it would be so much more useful for law students to go and work with a lawyer as a mentor for while they're going to school, not sit in university classes. Like, definitely have some of it, but if there was a more focus on having mentorship, I think we would have a lot more successful and more people who are happier with and using the things that they learned outside of school. And I'll have some more, but I want to hear from Nomza too.
Yeah, I think being creative, basically thinking what it means to be educated. Basically, if you go to school, you can study something and go to school. You have to have a creative mind in order for you to use that degree. Because I studied science and psychology. With psychology, I definitely needed to go to study psychology. And Viv, she's in Canada. Amanda, you are in Canada as well, aren't you? So you guys should connect. Yeah, so it is tough. Psychology is no, it's a daily living thing that basically when I started it, basically I was doing it for myself in order to be able to help someone. I had to get into becoming a student of a psychologist, so it did help me a lot. Practical things, but there are some things that I find it really, really tough because mostly it's theory. You have to use your mind. It's all about analyzing data, analyzing things and stuff. Even communications, when someone communicates, you watch a video, you have to translate that video to basically to reality. So it is tough. It's a very, very fascinating subject and it's tough. And science, Amanda, you studied science. I love science. I did go through science. It's a bit
I
difficult.
studied political science, so because I wanted to possibly go to law school. So it
Okay.
wasn't science, but it was the science of politics, which is what's been going on the last 2 years. I haven't used my political science degree at all until the last 2 years, when it's been thrown in my face to really think critically about what's going on in the world. So I have to say, for 22 years, I haven't used my political science degree until now, when it's more not so for my job, but for just thinking critically about what's going on in the world. So yeah, it's interesting because I definitely have a different perspective than lots of people on the what's happened the last 2 years, and it's more so because I read so much about politics and laws, and why the charter's in place, and why we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and so much of that has been violated, and it's so frustrating to me that everyone's not being like, why is this happening? Because you can't violate people's fundamental human rights, and that's been my argument from the beginning. Is you shouldn't be violating people's rights to bodily autonomy, and that's been happening across the world, and it just blows my mind.
What do you think, Grant?
But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think everybody has their own rights on that, and it should be precisely that in the simplest form. It should be there.
I didn't make a comment. I didn't make a comment about your marketing. Actually, I find marketing, like what you said, you studied marketing. Marketing, I agree with you. Actually, I didn't study marketing, but I basically admire people that have a marketing degree, because you will be able market with anything with a business or with work. You require marketing. You have to have the knowledge. I've never went to university or college regarding marketing, but it's something that I go to a business event and listen to people when they're teaching, like coaches. Like, I've never been to your event, Grant, but now if I hear that there's something, a course about marketing, It's something, it's a subject that is useful. It's like Amanda is saying, I studied science, I studied educational. She basically studied the science, everything that is useful, and marketing is a very, very useful subject because I see that when I go to a business event, and when somebody talks about marketing, is something, it saves me money because when somebody says I do marketing, and I say, okay, I'm listening. How do you work? And if they're telling me something that I don't understand, I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
what I've been taught. That's not marketing. So I'm able to save myself money because not everyone out there that says they do marketing, they actually do it properly. And that is not true. I agree with you, Grant. So I wanted to make that comment as well. And
Hey,
Amanda, we need to use that degree for critical political analysis. We need to use it at Ghost talk shows.
that's right. Yeah, but thinking about this as we're talking, that people say sales and marketing, don't they?
Yeah.
It should be marketing and sales in that order. In fact, it should be marketing, advertising, and sales in that order. That's the way it should come. But thinking back, it was a little bit different for me because I went to university later in life. I didn't go when I was like 18, 19, 20 years. I didn't do it then. I did it. So I'd had quite a few jobs. And in fact, I had a career by that time. And so it was more of an informed decision when I did it. It was more, okay, a lot of it I don't use, but at least it was the subject that I use. I do manage things now, and I had been a manager for several years, and and of course marketing, because before I had these jobs, and I probably had the job about 9 or 10 years by that time, and various jobs before. But before that, I'd had a business years ago, and probably could have taken off quite well, but didn't recognise the opportunity. And I was planning, after all these years of having a job, of maybe starting a business again. And that's why I thought management, because I had a girlfriend, a strong academic, and we spoke about starting a management consultancy overseas. And also, then I thought about marketing because of that reason. It's kind of specific, what I call specifically vague. It's specific because it's about a subject, but it goes across the board. It's about people. It's the four classic P's of marketing: of product, price, place, promotion, and that's the very, very page 101 stuff of it. But there's still fundamentals, and that is for any business or any project or any organisation or any charity you're ever going to go to in the world. Will require marketing. It's a study, as I say, a study of the viability. In that's my definition of it, and everything goes on top. So really, I thought that will help in whatever I go into, and I think so. It was a little bit more of an informed decision when I went there. And again, I mean, it's interesting because when we think of it, academia is that it is providing what it says. If it's the academic pursuit of something, well, that's what you're getting. If you want the vocational pursuit, which it doesn't claim to be fair, it doesn't claim to be. But if you want the vocational pursuit, that's something different. That's something different. It depends what the end goal is, like anything. If you're actually looking to get people educated so they can work in an industry, I would say, I'm sure lots of people disagree with this, and I respect everyone's opinion, but I would say the degree should be made to be a bit more vocational. So, still keep the academia because it's good to have that reference point, but make it more vocational and do things like exactly like you said, Amanda, to have a placement. Part of it, maybe a third of it, would be to work in, if you're studying law, in a lawyer's office, because you might go there and think, I absolutely hate this. There's no point in carrying on for the next 2 years. I would
That's why I
rather take
didn't
those.
go to law school, is because after I became a teacher, I had a boyfriend that was going to law school, and I would read all of his papers before he sent them in to, and I was like, this is so boring. I don't want to do this. I didn't go to law school because I literally watched him go to law school and supported him while he went to law school. And I read all of his papers, and I was like, this is so boring for me. So watching him do it saved me from that boringness. But then now I kind of wish I had gone to it, just because I feel like I would have been able to help more people through the last 2 years, especially in Canada. But that's one of the reasons is because I think people need to have that hands-on experience to see,
Yeah.
do I like this? Because if I spend 4 years of my life studying it, and, and then I go into the real world and then I'm like, oh, I actually hate this.
Absolutely, yeah, and
It's
that's
so
people.
important.
That's people's lives and careers, and that impacts their family and everything. And so I think it is important that you. I think the best thing people should do is have a taster in so many different industries before they study anything. Now, whether that could be a government incentive, which I'm sure it costs a fortune, but like the job placement when you're at school, you're leaving school, that kind of thing. I think it's great for people to flit around a few different industries and say, really like that, that's fun, that'd be good, but I don't think that's really going to take me where I want to go long term. Or this I don't like, that I thought I would love and really don't, but this I kind of really do like, because that's going to save people so much time. Because then if they do study, whatever they study, at least they've got an indication that it's going to be something they like doing. Because so many jobs, I was talking about one of my careers I was in last night. I was on Clubhouse and I was doing this, and I was talking about the job, doing the job of this industry that I was in, and I said it looks extremely glamorous on the outside. Trust me, when you're inside it's there are moments of absolute unbelievable excitement, unbelievable, but hours and hours of tedium, and it's not what you think. The reality, and we was laughing about that, but of course, and when I first did that job, no one paid attention to me on that first one. They also sort of flippantly blew you off, sort of thing. After I did a couple of jobs and did it well and asked, I said, "Are you really interested in this industry then?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. That's why I'm here." And I said, it's just that so many people come and go and think it's going to be so glamorous. They come and we don't pay much attention to them because they're like, they're going to last 3 weeks. And the first moment they get a crease in a suit, they're off, that kind of thing. And I was like, no. I had a very practical view of what it really might be. And they said, okay, if you're serious, then we'll teach you some stuff. And that's how it started. But for the first, sort of, 4 or 5 weeks, they just treat you like, oh, I can't be bothered to get to know him because this guy's going to be come and go like everybody else. But no, I stuck. I stuck, and because by chance or what instinct, I don't know, maybe instinct, I realised what it was going to be like, and I was very practical about it. And that helped me a lot. And I think if people could get a better insight of the industry they're going to go to, and there's no better insight than to try it on for size. If you do that, I think it's really going to give you a huge insight, a lot of practical experience, at least enough to take away and say, okay, I know I'm going in the right path now. And in life, I mean, it took me a long time to really find my thing. It really did. And people used to talk about it, and some people can find their thing like that. And I always envied them because I always feel if I had 15 lives, I could never feel I've done all the things I wanted to do. But if you can get to that point quicker and save your life, you can get on with life so much quicker. You can have more fulfillment. You can just do everything you want to do so much quicker. And I think one of the best tests you could ever do in your life is, if you will, like a passion test to find out what it is you really love to do. Because if you can nail that, that's 50% of life handled. I think if you can find out what you want to do, because if you find out what you want to do, near as damn it, you can nearly always achieve it if you're on the right path. And that's what I wanted to add. What do you think, guys?
Actually agree with you guys. Like Amanda saying, you have to test the industry. There need to be an opportunity where you test the industry. My children, my oldest daughter, she's 15, she'll be 16 in November. When she was 6, basically her dream was to become an actor. So when I did find actually a good agency, basically for them to go and do acting, now they don't talk about it because it's not as glamorous as it sounds. They have to get up at 4 a.m. to get to work at 6 a.m. So now they don't talk about it. And before it was like, I want to be, she wants to be an actor. She was like, I want to audition. She used to annoy me. Like, I want to go and audition for this. But now everything is in front of her. No, she's basically shifted the focus. She wants to be a doctor. She wants to be this. She does not want to do the acting anymore. She wants to do it for money, to have money when she's 17 or 18 in her bank account. But it's not something that she says, I want professionally, I want to do it. No, she's not doing that. Because when she gets a job, when they both get a job, Kayla, she's 6, she'll be 7 in July, and her sister is 15, and she'll be 16 in November. When they do get jobs, Kayla, at least they ask her to get there at 11 because she's 6. She can start at 11 until 6. Her older sister, the latest she can get there for 6 o'clock. So that means that we have to get up at 4 a.m. unless if we get a hotel where they are filming. So and then if she starts at 6, then the pickup is 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's 12 hours. Although they have specific hours that they have to work like children, but it's still hard work because they have to film, they have to take a break. And she's like, I'm doing one thing, I have to filming it 10 times. It's boring. But they get to have a chance to speak to famous people. But Amanda is not something that I hear like, Mommy, I want to be famous, I want to be this. No, she wants to be a doctor, she wants to be this, not acting professional. So which is good because she gets to have a chance to experience it. And my youngest one, she's young, but when she's older, maybe it's gonna be tough as well. She's enjoying it. Um, she's that when she starts at 11, she'll finish at 6. And also when you get there, she's happy and stuff. She's not complaining about my oldest one. I don't think it's something that she'll be like, I want to do this professional. The language is changed. So I'm glad that I had to have that opportunity for them to experience it, because if we hadn't, she would be like annoying and saying, I really want to do it. I really. So it is nice. And then you see like teaching assistants, like my daughter's school, her head teacher now was a teacher. So he is a very, 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 very good head teacher because he started being a teacher, and we've known him. My oldest went there. We've known him for years, and then he applied for a head teaching. So it's an experience that it didn't help me. For me, on my side as a good teacher, it didn't help me because my daughter I ended up having to move my daughter to a private school because it was giving her extra work. So, but when you watch him, is my children as a head teacher, when you watch him where he's been and where he is, there's that experience, the journey that we've been walking with him. And you see like other teachers that they start from teaching assistant and then they go further to do the training. And it makes you connect with those teachers because you respect them when you see them. You're like, you used to play with my daughter and now you are like a teacher. And I think it gives you that security that, but when it comes to psychology, you can't get bored. You can't get bored of it. There are some things that I don't know, Amanda, why you go bored with politics. I think being a lawyer is very, very exciting. Honestly, I just love it on TV when I watch them. I think it's very, very exciting to win the
So
case.
that's what Grant was talking about, where you think that it's going to be, or even your daughters, you think that acting is going to be so glamorous, and it
Yeah,
really isn't, because you spend all of your time reading past case law and past, like you're reading like all of the, and I don't know if you've ever read any like legal agreements.
I
I don't think
don't
so
like reading
very
legal
exciting to
agreements.
read. Pardon?
I don't like reading legal agreements.
Exactly. So that's what being a lawyer is reading and writing these legal agreements. And
Really?
yes,
I've got one.
no,
I've got one just over there, which I've got to deal with today. I've got to see a lawyer today, and
yeah,
reading it. And my friend is a lawyer. My friend's a good lawyer. He used to
yeah,
teach law, and years
Okay.
ago we was talking about some law issues and stuff. And I was asking questions, and they used to teach law all up and down the country. And they said, "You actually ask more interesting questions than most of the law students." They said, as I said, if you would have a good mind for it, but no, I'm not an interest in doing it. But yeah, I got something to do, contractual stuff I need to do, and I'm just having a lawyer look at that and explain it to me. They haven't legally explained it to me. It's been explained to me by my friend who's a lawyer, but they said, yeah, what they'll tell you is this, but you need to go and sit there and they'll explain it. So it's kind of interesting in a sense, but yeah, it's a subject. Let's just say it's a subject that some people love and a subject that some people don't.
Yeah, I don't love reading legal documents. I will read them when I have to, but it's not something that I love doing, and I learned that from reading my previous boyfriend's legal papers that he was writing, is that I didn't want to do that. And so that was something that was like, that experience gave me, because I had really wanted to go to law school. I think law is fascinating. I think um that standing up for people's rights is something that's really really valuable, and we need more people that do that. But I just was like, I don't want to spend all day researching. That doesn't allow me to be as creative as I am, and so I didn't go there because that. I think it would have stifled my creativity. And what I really like what Grant had said before about finding your passion, because the topic that I'm speaking on at the Aero conference is rethinking what it means to be educated. Looking through the lens of our creative gifts is the topic of my talk. And it's because I believe that once we find our passions, then life becomes more easy, and we if we follow those gifts, we will be successful because we will love what we're doing. And when we don't love what we're doing, that's when we get depressed, when we get some like mental health issues, when we start like not feeling like our life is worthwhile in some ways, in some cases, because we need that passion, we need that fire, we need that thing that you love. And so I always challenge people by saying, what is it, something that you loved to do as a child, that you absolutely love to do, and then bring that into your life, even if it's the tiniest little bit. Like maybe you draw something once a week, or maybe you loved to do woodwork. Just bring little pieces of that in, because once you start bringing those little pieces of passion that you could do for hours and hours and hours as a child, your life will start to be like, it'll be like that Zen meditation space. Because meditating isn't just sitting there like this, cross-legged. Meditation can be you doing your creative thing. It's that space where you're just calm, and the universe is just like bringing in knowledge and calmness, and that Zen space where it doesn't have to be you just sitting there meditating. It can be meditating through drawing, or meditating through like even hiking or walking. There's walking meditations you can do. And I really think that when people are in their creative zone, that is when they're like the most meditative and the most just at ease with their whole being. And I see that in kids too. The kids who love, when they are passionate about something, they will do something and I'll be like, okay, it's time to stop. And they'll be like, no, no, Miss Control, can we do this longer? And I'm like, yes, okay, we'll shift the day around and we'll make it work. But that's what I love about elementary school, is I don't have to stick on a schedule. I can shift the schedule however I want. And as long as I make sure we do a certain amount of everything each day, I can shift the whole day around. And that's those creative gifts. We all have creative gifts. And whether it's you love coding, people might think, oh, coding is not creative. Yeah, it's so creative. Like think of all the video games and all of the different websites and all of the different fonts that you have now that we didn't have when I was a kid. Like when we initially got computers when I was a kid, it was like there was no fonts. You just like typed and it was like whatever. Now you can be so creative with everything. There's like creativity is the internet. And I'm so glad I have my master's degree in education technology. Everything that I learned about technology set 8 years ago when I finished my master's is already obsolete. But I love that I have that experience of just being more confident with technology and thinking of technology from a creative perspective rather than I need to learn this specific technology. Because if you go into school thinking I need to learn this specific technology, it's going to be obsolete before you even learn it, because it's changing so quickly all the time. And our world is so fast paced and it's changing all the time. And it's really, we are going to be successful when we follow our creative gifts, is what I essentially believe, is that we all have these gifts to share with the world. And in order to be successful, and success looks different for everyone, right? It's some people it's the fame. I remember I thinking as a child, I would never want to be famous because you can't even go to the grocery store. But I'm also an introvert. So
You
I
can
was
if you
like,
wear sunglasses and a hat.
oh, I was like, I would hate being famous because I would like go into like, I couldn't imagine going to the grocery store and people wanting to take pictures with you. Like that was like my worst nightmare.
Apparently, famous people, what they find most difficult is the camera, the noise, the click.
Yeah,
Apparently stays with you. That's why they end up having nightmares. They say when someone comes from nowhere and they're like all of them, they just take pictures. Sometime that click is like my private life. I feel like somebody's taking my, basically taking over my life, and that click it stays. It doesn't go. It doesn't go on.
Well, the point is
so
that that sound,
Yeah,
really, even in your normal life, if you're with a family that just taking a snapshot, that sound, that click, will then become a hypnotic trigger for something that is
yeah,
unpleasant,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the danger. Point I
yeah.
wanted to jump in with. Oh, sorry, carry on, Amanda. I'll make a
No,
point
I
after
was
that.
just gonna say, like, I think people who want to be famous, like, all the power to them. That, but as an introverted person, I know that's not my creative thing, right? Like, I want, I want to be wealthy. I want to help people, but I never wanted to be like super famous because because of that. Like, I can't imagine wanting people wanting my picture, or like not being able to go to the grocery store in my sweatpants because I do that all the time.
Yeah.
With no makeup on, and just like go to the store. I can't imagine that being taken away. Those simple things in life.
I don't think Amanda will be taken away. Remember, the public, they, I think people, they intend to, because I always read like famous people, when you read about them, like they say, why is she wearing this? But it is their choice. You can go to grocery store even if you're famous with your pajamas. It's your choice, because we can't define what you should not. I have a friend who is famous. When I go and see him, basically, he used to treat me like, when I'm reading, like when I'm reading him on the magazine. That I think that's why he thought that's what I wanted to see, until I told him off to say, listen, you're my friend. So if you are my friend, you're gonna have to behave like a friend. So, but now when I visit him, honestly, he can be free. He's free because I had to teach him to be free. So you can be. For me, basically, if I was to become a famous, I'll be a nightmare famous person, because I will go with barefoot in the shops. I will go with the pajamas in the shop. They'll have a nightmare. So that's why I'm not famous. I live my life the way it's meant to be.
And that's a beautiful thing. It's often said in the world of human behaviour, which I'm obviously very involved with, is the point that you should act off camera the same way that you act on camera.
Yeah, yeah,
Doing the same things, you're being congruent. You will live a happier, healthier life because you're being congruent. And I think you reach a point in life when you realise that there's no point in trying to be something that you're not.
no, there
I
is
mean,
no point.
everybody wears a mask to some extent. Yes, they do. You can't help it, you do. But everybody will deny it. But the more you're aware of it, and the more you're okay to just let go and just be open and be yourself, because that's where the real value in you is. When you see the sincere person, and I had a pivotal call yesterday with someone who's really busy, and I probably waited a long, long time to get this call. And I had it yesterday, and I thought I'm going to get half an hour at the most. And to be honest, I had no expectations that this person was really interested in doing something. 3 hours we were on the call. Thank God I had nothing in my diary at that point. Because you know how busy I normally am, Nomsa, right?
Yeah,
Normally
yeah.
I didn't, and I had to check my diary while I was talking, and I was amazed that they did. You could see people coming in the call and they're saying, and I thought they're going to finish up, but no, 3 hours, and I was just open and just conversation, just genuinely trying to find if there's any value, and just ask the question: is there any value? Do you think we could work together? Because I would like to. What do you think? I said, what's your thought? And I asked them questions, and they said you're very good at being relaxed with people and very opening people and getting. And they told me a lot of stuff which was pretty private. And I said, this will go no further. What you told me, because I didn't think they would tell me this stuff. They don't know me that well. But they said, you're very good at getting people relaxed and to open up and make them feel comfortable. And I said, I'm just being real. I'm just being real. I'm just genuinely interested in what you're saying and just seeing if there's any value, if we can do something together now, in the future. I don't know. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. But from that, I thought, I'm really pleased to get the call. Frankly, I don't think it's going to go where I'd like it to. But I was optimistic. So a lot of people going with these calls, I've got to say this is my plan. I don't. I just go and open to see where it goes. And I came off the call thinking, wow, I am really amazed that could potentially be something really, really big. And that was great. And it was just by being open and being real. And the point I wanted to make was about, what does it mean to be educated? And your creativity. I think that any topic in the world, anything you study, anything you pursue, can be creative. And here's the key point: it can be. Even some of the professions that we think aren't, there's creativity within them. It may not be as obvious as a typically creative industry, but there is creativity. Here's the thing: work on your creativity. You can enhance your creativity. You can become more creative. I'm not saying you can become as creative as the most creative person in the world, but you can become the more creative version of yourself. And you should, because here's where the value is. People don't get paid. People don't excel in their industry for being a generalist. The ones who are at the cutting edge, i.e. the ones who take that and have a creative edge of it, are the ones that get paid the most money, the ones who get the most accolade, the ones who really open the doors and change and rechannel the industry, the ones who stand out. Now, if that remotely appeals to you, I would advise you to work on your creativity, because as we're going forward in the future, as we said, AI is coming in more and more every day. Think about where that's going to go. AI is a great thing. The thing that worries me is, as human beings, will we use it intelligently? It's called artificial intelligence, but will we use it intelligently? As I said yesterday, emails were a great thing, right? That was going to save a lot of time. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you just found our topic for next week.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. Well, I'm going to hold the thought.
Write that down. We can talk about that for a whole topic next week.
Can you write it down, Grant? Grant, write it down and send it to me, please.
Oh, I've got it. I'll send it to you, because it's an interesting subject, and, well, we must use things intelligently.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say for now, but we'll talk about that next week.
I agree with you guys, Amanda and Grant, when you guys are saying everyone is creative. I think for me personally, I think we are all creative, and I always tell my children, and my daughter should be like, I don't like this, I don't like this. I'll be like, when you are doing a subject, forget about your teacher. She's there to teach you, but you are there for the subject. You are not there to like her, and you are not there to criticize her. You are there to listen to what she had to say, and then you learn that subject and study it and see where it takes you, instead of focusing on I don't like. Sometimes children, they copy each other anyway. So my children, I refuse to let them copy each other. I say you've got to be individual. Like Grant was saying, that you've got to be unique. You've got to wear your authentic code, because if you are not unique, I've not been in the office for, I used to put on like different personalities. Like when I'm with someone, I'll put on, but 10 years ago. But then I decided, you know what? It was frustrating. I'm just going to be me. I've not been in the office for few days, and today when I walked in, I was like, I can see these smiles. It's like these people, they're like, we are glad you are here. It's like, what's going on? And everyone is so smiling, like we are happy you're back. We it's been frustrating because like for me, when I'm on the camera, what you see when I'm off the camera is what you get. I'm always smiling. I use meditation. If I don't feel too good, I don't take it on people. I use meditation like to be creative. Like Amanda and Grant is saying that you've got to be unique. You've got to be yourself. And if I feel like I don't feel too good, uh, I always tell people that I think this week I'm not myself, or I don't feel too good, or with the kids, I always tell them that I don't feel too good. If I feel that I don't feel too good, it's normally if I've lost someone or if somebody's not alive, they're ill. I just go down because when you love someone, you don't want them to be like my father-in-law right now is not well. So when I look at him, I always force him to eat. So it's like, and when you speak to people sometimes, and when you are being creative, like you find that people are not listening. People they are listening. It's like we hear it in Ngozi talk shows. I'm actually starting to realize that Amanda was hiding her personality when she started. Now I'm beginning to see more of her. Grant always speak. So you know you know what you get with Grant. But with Amanda, it's only now that I'm starting to actually get to know the real Amanda, her true personality, the intelligence that is within her. When she started, I don't know why she just kept it herself to herself. I don't know. But for the past few months, I've been actually seeing the real her. So I'm
It
glad
takes me,
that
I'm an introvert, so it takes me a long time to warm up.
honestly, it's Carol Anna. What you see with Carol Anna is what you get. Basically, Carol Anna, if you write something or a sentence, if it doesn't make sense to her, she just tells you straight away that this doesn't make sense. Can we change it to this? So she knows basically that this is because the talk show is my home. But with
Now you
Amanda,
tell me that.
yeah, there was a shield. I feel that there's been a shield. Now you are showing me the real Amanda that is there, the creative one, the intelligent one, the loving and caring one. So this is the one that I start coming out. You start coming out now. Don't know where you've been hiding.
And that's a great thing, though, isn't it? To be able to, when you get accepted into someone's world and they open up to you, that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
honor.
she's
Because
starting to open up, Grant, and I'm glad that she is opening up, like showing me herself. And when was the other day that I learned that she can design, she can do this, and I was like, oh my goodness.
there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of
Yeah,
talent.
so I think it is. I'm glad that she feels that she can open up with me and she feels at home. So yeah, it makes me feel happy. I was so because she wouldn't like with the topics. Greta have to send her a message, but now when she's writing something, she's like, "Nomsa, I think I have this. I think we need to share with the world." And like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a, well, it also is too, like when you're sometimes what's going on outside, because I'm an empath, like it can affect me, right? And so the last 2 years have been really hard for me because I was so creative for so long, and I had written 8 children's books, and it took me 2 years almost to get my ninth one out, where it took me like less than three to do 8 before. And it's just like I got in this funk of really struggling with what was going on the outside world, and not focusing on what was going, how I can empower people through their own creative gifts. And that really is my passion, is empowering people through their creative gifts. I do want to talk one really important thing on why I'm writing this book on rethinking what it means to be educated and collaborating with people. And it's because one of my very I got the idea for the book because of one of my very good lifelong friends. I was talking with him, and he barely passed high school, and he has now gone on to be a very successful business owner. And we were talking one day, and he was telling me one of his kids got suspended from school or something, and I just laughed, and I was like, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But I also was like, Chris, it's because your kids are smarter than the teachers. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, they're bored. They're bored and they're smart, and they know they're exactly like you, where they know they're going to do fine in life because they're smart. They have like all of these different intelligences that may not necessarily be marked in school, but your kids are smart. They're the exact same as you. You're smart, you're innovative, you like have become extremely successful. And he's like, I actually asked my parents in high school if I could quit and go and work, because I knew I wasn't going to do anything with any of the crap I was learning at school. And I was like, this is why we need to write this book. Like, we need to tell your story. We need to tell the story of other people who we know, and so if you like barely passed high school, or you struggled through school, or you've gone a completely different path, like even Grant, you've gone a very different path of the traditional view of what it means to be successful, which is go to school, go to university, get your job. And I love what you said about try all these different things. And that's what my friend did. He went from high school, then he worked at this company, worked his way up in oil and gas in Calgary, and then it got bought out, and he worked his way up. He continued to work his way up in that one, and then he didn't like the company that had bought them out, so he ended up becoming a consultant. And then he was like, being a consultant is boring. It's for when you're retired. Like, I'm too young for this. He's the same age as me. He's like my brother from another life. And he then decided to start his own company, and now he's doing very, very well. And he's like, Chris, we need to tell stories from people like you, where you didn't. And he's like, I think education's super important. He's like, I wouldn't have got to where I am without all of the different courses that I've taken throughout. But he's like, I don't have a degree. I don't have a business degree. And he's a millionaire. Right. And it's not because he didn't go to school, but like Grant said, he was very specific about any courses that he took. So he's constantly taking courses. He doesn't have a degree. He doesn't have a piece of paper, an expensive piece of paper to stick over his office building, or like stick over in his truck to carry around with him, because that's not important in his industry. And even people who are, and then he connected me with another person. And I laughed so hard, because I was like, tell me your story. Like, I haven't seen you since high school. Tell me your story. He was a couple of years older than me in high school. And he literally told me that he got kicked out of our high school. And he's super successful millionaire, doing very well for himself. And I was like, what? You got kicked out of our high school? Like, you need to be in my book, because people like you who are so creative. He was just like, he's like, I never got anything above a 60 in high school. And he's like, and now I own an engineering company with all of these employees, and I'm not even an engineer. Because he just is so innovative, and he's so good at what he does, and he's so good at connecting with people. And yet there's people who will be like, oh, I can't do that because I don't have a degree. And all of those people will challenge you to say, why do you need a business degree to start a business? Just start. Like, and then when you know that there's specific courses that you need to take to get you to the next level, go and take those specific courses.
Yeah.
But do not waste 4 years taking a business degree to start a business. Start a business. Connect with people who are doing what you are already doing, only better than you, and get them to teach you. Mentorship is so much more important than sitting in a classroom reading textbooks. Mentorship, collaborating with people, being innovative, being creative, and following your dreams are going to get you so much further than sitting in a classroom. And that is coming from someone with 3 degrees who is a teacher. Like, do not waste your money unless you know specifically what it is that you want to do. And I'm so passionate about this, because I believe with all of my heart that we are all creative, and we all have so many gifts to give and share with people. And my friend Chris is very, very innovative. and not in the way that you would think. He owns a company that goes and cleans up oil wells. Would you think that's creative? No, no one would be like, that's not a creative job, but it is, because he's innovating in his expertise. And that's something that we need to really empower and value in people, is that expertise in their specific area. And I think that there's infinite potential when we follow our passions.
What do you think, Grant?
Love that. Love that. I'm sitting there thinking, if I had to give someone advice all over again, and yes, please, please don't just go and get a degree because you want to start a business. Please don't do that. Do a degree in business if you want to do a degree in business, but don't do it because you need to start a business. It's so easy. I could show people how to start a business. I could have a business up and running in 48 hours. Done. Easy. That's the easiest part in the world. If I had to tell someone to do it all over again, it'd be very simple. One would be find out what you want to do. That sounds easy, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Whether that's by doing passion tests, whether it means by, don't worry about money, please, please. Just get hold of a company, ask them for, some experience, and even if they're worried about the money, just do it for free. I don't care. The money's not important at that stage. I know it's easy to say, but trust me, it's time. Time's the important commodity. Go and get there. Try a few things. Try it for size. If you go to a restaurant, you don't know what you want for dessert, you have an assiette, a selection, right? This is what you should do with your career. Try a few things. Try it on for size. See what your passion is. Speak to some people that you trust. Ask them about, interview people. I did this before management. I was in a company, I remember. On my day off, I went around and spent a day with every manager. Just spend a day with that kind of manager, and wrote a précis of it, and a very humble management development document I made. So when it came up for promotions of the first managers to look at, who was one of the first people I looked at? Me. But I'd done that on my day off, unpaid, because I was curious about the next step for me, and I wanted to get into management, and I'd done that. So I would advise you to do something like that. Then get a coach, get a mentor. It's the fastest, quickest, most economical way of getting there. It really is. I'm a coach, and I would say that. I'm a coach who years ago didn't have a coach. And if people ask me, any regrets? Yeah, that I didn't get a coach sooner. It's the smartest thing to do. Get one you resonate with. They will coach you or mentor who will show you. But first, find out what it is you want to do. When I obviously academia, and so many courses I've brought. Some people buy all the courses from an organisation. I've never done that. I've mixed and matched and picked, because I've always thought, what's the course that I need right now to get me from here to the next step? It's cost me more money doing it that way, but it's saved me a lot of time. And actually, I think it's perhaps, I haven't got all the bargains that way, but I haven't spent too much money. I've spent the right amount of money, and that is a lot of money I've spent on courses. But learning what I needed specifically for me, not for you, but for me, to get from where I am to the next stage. And that's the way I've done it. And I think it's served me very, very well, because I've got a very good understanding of my industry, of my topic. I can jump onto shows and talk about the subject, which amazes me sometimes, because you built up this breadth of knowledge about it, and practical experience, most importantly. And that's the thing that people are going to buy. They want to know at the end of the day, can you jump in? Can you sit there? Can you land? Can you do the job? And there's no better experience than actually trying it on for size. Find out what you want to do, get a coach, get a mentor, get there quicker, enjoy your life more. That's what I wanted to say. Nomsa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Granty. For me, basically, I will say the same thing what Amanda has said, what Granty you have said, that don't waste money going to a business course if you really want to. And also, Granty, what you're saying is specific courses. Some people, I've met people who have spent 60 grand or 100 grand for the courses that they've put in the cupboard. They go to business event. When a speaker starts selling their courses, they stand up, they go and buy. So what Grant is saying, that it will cost you more, but specific the courses that you're going to give time and just read about it and just develop your skills. is very, very, very important. Just to focus on where you're going is very, very important. Use those skills by getting creative and just become the person that you want to become. We were talking with Amanda about the kids before we came live, that her daughter is doing jewelry. And I was telling her about my daughter that when she's having a good day or whatever, when she wants it, she'll go online, TikToks, she will learn TikToks and then go and make like a £200 and then she will stop. So when she does needs money again, she'll go back. It's like you don't, not pushing them, let them be creative in their own space, take their own space. So it's very, very important. I've met people who have done business degrees, they are working for other people. I don't have a degree in business. I've just had to learn. I did matchmaking, a diploma. And what else did I do? I did so many courses where specific. I pay for them specific if I need them. And outsourcing with other people as well, just connecting with people, it does help. So before we leave, Amanda, quickly, any words of encouragement to our audience? I know you have got to go.
Yeah, I think that no matter what, you need to find out what your passions are. Think, and if you don't know what your passion is, if you're like, I don't know, I'm not passionate about anything, I would think back to when you're a child and what is it that you could spend hours and hours doing, and and then start doing it. Start doing it again, even if you just have a little bit of time. Start doing those things, and it will open up doors that you never imagined possible. And I think that when we start to truly stand in our own power, the doors will open up and you will be amazed at what will come towards you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amanda. My friend gave me that advice. She's not doing any business or anything, and I followed her advice. That's why I'm here today. Grant, any words of encouragement?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Nomsa. And it is back to that thing again. Think what lights you up, because you want to be happy in this life, and the happier you are, the more you're going to excel. If you, a lot of people, when I used to get this before, they go after a profession because they think there's going to be more money in it. Probably not for you, not if you don't like it, because you're going to
Yep.
be, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to stand out from the crowd. You're going to be an also ran. And when you start going into the world of education, you become in a very competitive world. You look at these job fair markets with the tickets on the floor, they are smothered with tickets of people applying for jobs. You've just become into a very competitive world. And one of the fastest things I've ever done is not do that. Now, if you're educating, fine, carry on. I would never say to anyone, don't carry on. Do it with your eyes open, do it for that purpose. But remember, at the end of it, you've got to stand out from the crowd. And that's going to be about your personal development. So that could be a subject for another day, because that's the thing that's going to make you stand out from the crowd. So if you are studying, carry on doing it. That's cool. Go do that. And remember, it's a purpose. It's a part of the jigsaw puzzle. Once you got that, really just think about what really lights you up, because that's the thing that's really going to keep you passionate. You may get a degree in something and you may not use it for that purpose. Okay, lots of people do it that way. And then, but once you got it, think, please, what is it you love doing? Because you're going to be so much happier spending your life doing that. And if you're better at it, you're lit up by it. When the time gets tough, you're going to carry on going when other people fall by the side. You're going to have clarity. You're going to be more creative. You will stand out from the crowd, and you are the one who will excel in that industry. And most of all, you'll live a happy, fulfilled life. So that's my advice. Nomsa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Grant. We're here to Ghost Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. Please take Grant's advice and Amanda's advice and implement and get in touch with these guys if you really, really want to move your life forward. Get in touch with me. I'll connect you with Grant and Amanda or any other coaches that you feel you're connected to. And live with grace, everyone. And God bless. YouTube family, please subscribe to our channel. God bless.